I didn't arrive expecting warmth. That's the part people misunderstand when they hear this later how. They imagine me hopeful, naive, dressed in the wrong color, waiting to be embraced. I wasn't. I came because the invitation existed once, years ago, in the abstract way families assume permanence. I came because silence had followed me long enough. At the entrance to the reception hall, the music was already rehearsing happiness. Glasses clinked. Someone laughed too loudly. The staff member holding the tablet looked up at me with professional politeness and asked for my name. I gave it. Her fingers paused. She scrolled once, then again. Her expression shifted, not alarmed, not rude, just confused. "I'm sorry," she said softly, angling the screen away from the line forming behind me. "Your name isn't on the list." For a moment, I thought of all the lists I'd been on as a child: school forms, emergency contacts, family trees drawn in crayon. It wasn't shock that landed first. It was recognition. I asked if there might be another section. +1s, family. She checked, then shook her head almost apologetically. "I'm really sorry." The word sorry hung there, weightless and useless. I stepped aside and scanned the room until I found my mother. She was near the front, already glowing with that particular confidence she wore when she knew the outcome favored her. When I approached, she didn't look surprised to see me. She looked amused that I'd made it this far. "They say I'm not on the list," I said. Not accusing, just factual. She smiled. Not cruelly, not loudly. Just enough. "Did you really think you were invited?" Her voice carried the tone of someone correcting a misunderstanding, not delivering a wound. "Strangers aren't allowed." There it was. Clean. Efficient. No scene required. I felt anger rise, but it was distant, like heat behind glass. What I felt closer to was something steadier, a line forming inside me, finally visible. I nodded once. Then, "I'll live like a stranger." She blinked, maybe expecting more. A plea. An argument. A performance. Instead, I turned around. Walking away was quieter than I expected. No one stopped me. A few people glanced over, curious, then returned to their conversations. The doors closed behind me with a soft finality. Outside, the air felt neutral, indifferent in a way that was almost kind. I didn't go home. I sat in my car for a while, hands resting on the steering wheel, listening to the distant echo of music through glass and distance. I thought about how often I'd stayed in rooms where my presence was conditional. How often I'd mistaken endurance for belonging. Inside, the ceremony began without me. That's when my absence started doing what my presence never could. My mother's phone rang during the vows. She silenced it quickly, irritated. It rang again, then again. She excused herself, lips pressed thin, stepping into the hallway with the practiced patience of someone used to control. The calls didn't stop. What she didn't know she hadn't bothered to confirm when she erased my name, was that some roles aren't ceremonial. They're administrative, structural, boring even. The kind that don't matter until they're missing. I wasn't just a guest. I was the executor of a trust my father had insisted remain neutral. I was the co-signer on a venue contract finalized years ago, back when family still meant something operational. I was the point of contact for a compliance review triggered automatically when a named party withdrew involvement. None of this was dramatic. No shouting, no public accusations. Just a series of unanswered questions escalating into procedural urgency. By the time the ceremony ended, the reception was delayed. The staff whispered to each other. The coordinator asked to speak with my mother privately. An external representative arrived, polite. Firm, unmistakably official. Authority doesn't raise its voice. It doesn't need to. My mother's smile didn't vanish. It fractured. Tiny breaks at the edges, as she realized this situation wasn't responsive to charm or dismissal, that it required signatures she didn't have, clarifications she couldn't invent. I learned all of this later, secondhand, from an aunt who sounded shaken in a way she tried to disguise as gossip. I listened without interrupting, without satisfaction, just absorption. There was no revenge in it for me. I hadn't planned anything. I hadn't stayed to watch. The shift happened because I stepped away and the structure adjusted to my absence. That night, I went home and cooked myself dinner. Simple food, familiar routines. I didn't cry. I didn't feel victorious. I felt aligned, as if something long bent had finally straightened. Not dramatically, but enough to stop hurting every time I moved. My sister and I don't speak now. My mother and I exchange messages that are careful, formal, distant. Some people call that loss. Maybe it is. But it's a loss that doesn't ask me to shrink to compensate. Being a stranger, I learned, doesn't mean being erased. It means no longer being available for rejection. And that quiet, uncelebrated, and real was the first kind of peace I trusted.